Welcome to everybody for joining us for Set Your Course. I am really happy that you decided to be here. I love a good plan. I think one of my favorite things that stood out to me through all this time in coaching is I love navigational tools. So I think just about everything that I create is a tool to help you navigate your life in a conscious way. And so this is another one of those tools. During our time together, we're going to help you set your course in 5 life areas. So we're going to work with health, money, lifestyle, home, and love. And then I'm going to give you a tip for each life area. It's one thing to have good intentions. It's another thing to get past the temptations and everything else that stop us, breaking the old habits and everything that stop us. So I hope that the tips that I have will also help you to not only see what you want, but to actually overcome any barriers to making that a reality for yourself. So you're in the right place. If there are ways that you've been wanting to live your life, maybe healthier, more abundant, more mindful, more creative, more authentic, but you just haven't been able to make them all happen. Maybe you've made some of them happen, but we're going to help you get really clear on what you want and the tips on how to get there. There's a quote that I really like, and it's by the Greek philosopher Seneca. And he said, if a person doesn't know what harbor they're making for, no wind is the right wind. That's what this time together is about, is setting that direction for yourself for the next 12 months. In the work that I do, I like to make a distinction between goals and visions. So I may use the word goals in our time together, but to me, a goal is something that you make a plan with your mind. You decide what you want to do and you set those goals for yourself. And sometimes we set arbitrary goals for ourselves, or we see something that someone else is doing and that seems like a good idea, or there's something that we see that we want, and so we set a goal for that. And there's nothing wrong with those kinds of goals. But the visions and goals that I'm interested in are the ones that come from the heart. I think that when we create a vision that comes from that inner place, that inner voice, that inner knowing, that inner guidance, when we set a goal from that place, then what happens is there's something true about that. That aligns us with life. We've talked a lot in general about being in the flow. Everybody knows about being in the flow. When we connect with that inner voice, that inner guidance with our hearts and listen and hear what it is that inner voice is saying to us, that puts us in the path of life. And then when we go to pursue that, we're not doing it in a vacuum. We're not doing it alone. In the shift system, we talk about longings and callings. So there's this longing that we have in our hearts. And then there's like a matched bookend out in the world that's a way to manifest that calls to us. So there's the inner and the outer that pulls us together. And what I'm trying to say is that we're not doing it alone. When we do it from the heart, we're in the flow of life. Life gets behind us and helps us move toward that vision. So that's a distinction that we're making here. And so my intention for our time together is to inspire you and ask you questions that help you get to the heart of what it is that you want, so that you can set your course in a way that life gets behind you. So the first life area that we're going to talk about is health. I have this alternative reality that happens about my health, about other areas of my life too, but a lot about my health. In my alternative reality, there will come a time when I will be doing my yoga practice consistently every day. I used to do it. I will be doing it again. That's my alternative reality. That is just part of what's going to happen. I have this alternative reality that I'm going to be eating maybe a plant-based diet, and I'm going to do that really well. So every time I make a choice, like I'll reach for a hard-boiled egg and call that breakfast, that's in my reality. In my alternative reality, I'm going to be making that smoothie tomorrow, for sure tomorrow, that's going to be happening. And I always think about, I lived in Texas for a while, and they have an expression, I'm fixing to do this, I'm fixing to do that. And so this to me is like my fixing to reality. It's there, but I just haven't quite made it a reality yet. And the thing is that I believe that alternative reality actually comes from my inner knowing. It's what I know is best for me. It's what I know I should be doing. I want to be doing. it's just a matter of bridging the gap between what goes on in my head and what I'm actually doing day to day in my life. So the question that I have for you to create your vision for health is to think about your alternative reality. What are the things that you know you want to, should be doing to live that healthy lifestyle that you know is yours to live? So just make a list of some of those things that you actually, you know are there for you. In the shift system, we talk about the definition of an authentic life is what we know on the inside to be true, that we're actually living that on the outside. So what we're talking about is authentic living with our health. Okay, and when you get your list done, pick one thing off that list that's a priority for you, that would be a priority for you over the next 12 months. Now it's time for that tip that I was talking about. This is the beginning of really listening to yourself and about getting that inner voice out on paper. Okay, so that's a great step. So then in each of these areas, I want to offer you a very simple question or a tool that you can use to help you break the old patterns and step into a new behavior. So for health, I have a question that you can use. And this is a question that my mom, who was a psychologist, used to invite her clients to ask themselves when they were at a choice point in their lives. And so the question is, what's the most loving thing you can do for yourself right now? Okay, so when you're trying to decide between the ice cream or the granola bar, or lying in bed in the morning and flipping through your phone versus getting up and doing some exercise or going for a walk, at that choice point, ask yourself, what's the most loving thing I can do for myself right now? It's really hard to maybe having the ice cream in that moment, the answer is the ice cream. Maybe you've had a really bad day and maybe that is the answer, but maybe it's not. And so hopefully when you face yourself with that sort of a choice, it hopefully will help you to make a different decision. So that's the first question that we can use as a tool. Let's go on to money. Money's a funny thing. It's a little bit different, I think, for everybody. So I would ask you, to think about your money IQ. Do you know your bank balances? Do you know your monthly nut? Are you building a savings? Or do you sort of blur over when it comes to thinking about money? You kind of sort of know, but you're not really clear about how that goes. So figure out on a 1 to 10 scale where you are with your money IQ. 1 is like I'm unconscious and can't even think about it. And 10 is I've got this handled and I'm dotting the I's and crossing the T's here. To create our vision for money, I want to take a little bit different approach. And the approach that I want to take is, maybe we don't know how much money everything is and all the details of our finances. But one thing that I'm pretty sure most of us know is how we want to spend our money. That's pretty clear. Okay. I'm really clear on what I want and how, if I had more money, how I would spend it. Okay. And I'm clear also about the money I have and how I want to spend that as well. So what I invite you to do at this point is to make a list of, over the next 12 months, how you want to spend your money. Okay, and when you get your list done, pick one thing off that list that's a priority for you, that would be a priority for you over the next 12 months. So think about the difference between trying to have the money, like saving up the money, and then figuring out how you're going to spend it, which is one way to go. I'm not saying that's a bad idea. But when we think about the law of attraction, when we think about something that we long for in our hearts, the means for that to happen is drawn to us. So we can create that from the desire. If that desire is coming from a true place, from that inner guidance, that inner knowing, that inner vision from our hearts, that becomes the attracting force to draw in the resources that we need. Earlier today, I was talking about there's just something so deep in me about wanting to be living somewhere in the country. It's like in a small, I can see the house, I can see the land, I can see all of it. It's just so deep in me that I have to believe that life is also helping to move me toward that. So that's the idea with this. It's not just a random kind of thing, but it's really connecting with the life force that helps us manifest what's really on our paths. The tip that I have for you for this area is that when you're at that choice point about how you're spending your money, now that you've got your list of ways that you want to spend your money and your priority, that when you're at that choice point, to ask yourself this question: does this choice move me closer to or further from what I want? Okay? Does this choice move me closer to or further from what I want? So when you're trying to decide about, how you're spending your money, that's a great question to have on hand. Let's go on to lifestyle. In the shift system, the way that we talk about lifestyle is it's how you put your life together. It's the balance of all the pieces of your life. So there's work, there's travel, there's friends and fun, there's community, there's home, all of the different pieces of your life. I think most of us are wanting to have some balance between those. And it doesn't mean everything needs to be equal in time and energy that we give to it, but that it's a balance that nourishes us and doesn't deplete us. So I talk about personal sustainability. What personally sustains me? What things am I doing that I have to give energy, but do I have enough things in my life that actually bring back energy to me, that renew my own energy? You want to find a balance with lifestyle. So the question that I would ask you about lifestyle is, what do you know about the balance for your life this year? How do you see the balance of your life? What's a sort of ideal balance for you? Well, first, you could think about what are the elements in your life? What are those components that make up your lifestyle? Work and home and family and hobbies and personal growth or worship or whatever those pieces are, the elements of your lifestyle. And then how does the balance look for that? Okay, and then once you get a perspective on that, choose one thing that would be your top priority around lifestyle. So it might be like, I want to spend less time working and more time relaxing, or I want to spend more time on my health, or I want to, so what would be one thing that you're wanting to take action on to shift for your lifestyle, to rebalance your lifestyle in the next 12 months? Okay, when you get that piece, the next question I have for you is, in order to rebalance that, what would have to decrease and what would have to increase for that balance to happen? So in other words, in order to eat better, I might need to spend time finding recipes and grocery shopping and cooking. So that takes time and energy. So where would I find the time to do that? What do I have to take away from in order to add this new piece that takes up time and energy? So maybe I'd have to work less. Maybe I'd have to watch TV less. How can you rebalance that? The question to use as a tool when you get to that choice point is, when you're trying to decide about where your time and energy is going, is to ask yourself, what is the outcome of this action? Is it drawing me closer to or further from the balance I want in my life? So if we're thinking about sleeping in versus getting up and doing our yoga practice, to ask ourselves, is this drawing me closer to or further from the balance that I want in my life? And see what your honest answer is about that. And it can be quite motivating when you put it into black or white terms. So we're moving on to our fourth category, which is home. And home is not just about the building in which you live. It's also encompasses the setting that you're in, the place that you're living in. So in other words, big city or living in the country, living near the ocean. So setting is one thing about home. We could look at, is it a happy home? Are we happy with the relationships in the home? Is it tense? Are the relationships in the home functional, loving, supportive? Are we lonely? So that kind of thing, looking at, is it a happy home? Is it neat and organized, or is it cluttered? If you work well in a cluttered home, that's fine. But I know a lot of people, especially in the shift system, we have so many people who constantly on their list is decluttering something, the garage, their office, their house, their kitchen, whatever. So I know that's a big topic for people that addresses how they feel about their home. Does it nourish you? When you walk in the door, do you feel safe? Is it quiet? Is it comforting? Is there a place for you that you love to sit and rest? Does it provide sanctuary or maybe a place to gather your friends? So all of those kinds of things come into our category about home. There's a tool that I like to use called my ideal list. The invitation here is to think about home and to write out my ideal home, ... And then think about the things that, again, this is your alternative reality, that inner knowing. What are the things? It's funny because we know when things aren't right? We feel uncomfortable or nervous or whatever that is, those feelings that we get, the tension that we get when things aren't right. And we get those because we know what right is. Not that there's a right or wrong that applies to everybody, but for us, we know what right is for us. So that's where you want to go with your ideal list, is to think about my ideal home and write down what that looks like. The thing about creating your ideal list is that you want to hone it down so that it's short and to the point, 6 or 7 bullet points. And the idea with the ideal list, you can create this list for my ideal job, my ideal money, my ideal health, my ideal relationship. You can use it in any category. But the idea is that we want it to be concise and easy to remember, so that when fear comes up or doubt comes up about that area, we use our ideal list to countermand the fear. When I was moving to New York, I was nervous. I was, it's expensive to live there. And I was going there to write my book. So it's not like I had a big job or anything. I made my ideal list, which I can still recite, I think, almost everything. It was in a safe and cheery neighborhood near the subway with an elevator. I think I had hardwood floors for some reason. I don't know why I said that, but I did. At a price I could afford, and my application was easily accepted. There might have been a couple other things in there, but basically that was my list. And so every time I'd start to think, are you out of your mind? You're never going to find a place in New York on your budget, yada, yada. I would go, my ideal new home is bright and cheery neighborhood near the subway, hardwood floors, elevator. And I would just say that to myself. And I kept using that over and over and over again. And I got to New York, and the first weekend that I was there, the person that I was staying with until I found a place said, "Oh, what the heck, you should just stay here. How much do you want to pay?" And I told him what my budget was, and he said, "Okay, great, you're in." And I just unpacked my stuff and it was done. These can work really well I've used them for all kinds of things, but you want to make them really simple and clear, so like that you can remember them, and you use it to override the fear that comes up or the doubts about what we're doing, okay? So go ahead and pick one item off of your ideal list that you want in relationship to home. So what I would recommend with this list is to get it right where you want it in terms of how you want to say everything, and then not only have it memorized, but to post it where you're going to see it. The more you remind yourself of it, the more top of mind it is, the more likely you are to manifest it, because of course we all know what you focus on, you create. So that's another piece of this. With this one, really the tip is about memorize it and post it. Those are the important things about using the ideal list. Okay, let's go on to the last category in our vision for the next 12 months, and that is love. In the shift system, we talk about the difference between companionship and relationship. So we could talk about love and it being about primary relationship and intimate relationship. And when I started putting together the shift system, I wasn't in a relationship at the time. And I thought, well, that kind of, excludes me from this whole category. So I started to expand my thinking around that. And I thought, well, there is, primary relationship, of course, all that. But another way of looking at love and the people in your life is to call it companionship. So that's what we work with, is companionship. And companionship to me is, who are you walking your life with? Who are your people? Who is your posse? You know, who are the people who are there for you when you feel down, the people you're there for when they feel down, the people who make you laugh, the people who get you out to get some exercise, the people who inspire you. Who are you walking your life with? Who are your people? And so that would be my first question, is to write down who your people are. You know, who are your companions that you're walking your life with? And it changes. They're not, you know, not everybody is in our lives for our whole life. People come in and go out. So right now, who are the people in your life? Who's your posse? Some people may have a short list, some people may have a long list. Different people in our lives are there covering different areas. So again, we might have somebody in our life who's really just good at, hey, let's go to a movie, or let's go for a walk, or, you know, let's get together and make dinner. You know, maybe there's a person who you really rely on to tell you the truth. That's not just going to, yes, yes, poor youth kind of thing. You know, they help you see something about yourself that you couldn't see. So there are people in your life who help you clarify things. So people cover a lot of different bases. And sometimes if we look at the area of support, okay, that's the area that I want to hone in on for you to think about. Do you feel like you have balanced support in your life? Do you have enough of the bases covered? Or are you relying on one or two or three people to be everything for you? And then think about, what areas of support would you like to fill in this year? What's missing? That girlfriend that you can just go shopping with, or go out to lunch with, or hang out with. For the guys, is it a guy friend that you can do that with? So when you're ready, I'll invite you to close your eyes and imagine yourself 12 months from now, having opened yourself up to more of this type of companionship, this type of support, whether it's emotional, physical, fun, clarifying, inspirational, opening yourself up to more support, broadening your area of companionship and love. And just feel how that feels. Breathe in, having a larger network of support around you. See if it feels any lighter, any more joyful. How is it different than it is right now? Take a breath. And then imagine all the changes we've been talking about together. Imagine 12 months from now, some of those changes having taken place around home, lifestyle, money, your health. How is your life different having made some of those changes? How is your vitality different? How are you different in your life? See if there's a particular emotion or a feeling that stands out above all the others. And see if there's a color that goes with that. And imagine yourself surrounded by that color and holding you throughout the 12 months that you have to go. Holding you, supporting you, reminding you, embracing you, encouraging you, inspiring you. When you're ready, come back. So I would just add then that think about the color that came to you, and then see if there's some object or a scarf or something that you have in your home that is that color. And then you can put that out as a reminder for yourself, a way of anchoring how you want things to shift for you in terms of companionship and in terms of your life being different this year. Hopefully you can take the information, the lists that you made in each life area, put them together in some way. Some people like to do a vision board. I like to do a vision book. So I have different pages for each of my life areas, maybe pulling in some pictures and things to help really bring that to life and to keep that reminder going of what it's an external reminder of what your inner voice is trying to remind you of. So that it doesn't have to work quite so hard to get your attention. So I just want to mention some additional things that are available in helping to bring this to fruition. Of course, there's a shift system. It's a 90-day program. We only offer it 3 times a year. The shift system is about helping you get clear on what you want and turning your life in that direction. So let me know if there's any interest for you in that. And then also, of course, we talked about clearing emotional patterns and things that stop you from moving forward. One of the things that I offer is private emotional healing sessions. So if there's something that you've just been stuck on, that you're just sick of living and reliving and doing over and over and over again, that's stopping you from really experiencing the joy that you want in your life, that is an option we can look at and see if it started in a past life or if we just want to work on it in the present life, whatever. But we can work together in an hour session and really help you shift some energy there. So those are some of the things that are available. I really am craving doing more free workshops. So there's going to be more of that stuff coming up. So be sure and check the mailing list for those as well. I thank you for being committed to your life, doing the work, and staying focused on being the most authentic person that you can be. I don't believe that there's any higher calling. So I'm happy to be able to play a part in that and support you in that effort. And if I can help you in any way going forward, please let me know.